You're listening to the Toolstation Western League podcast with Ian Knockholds and Tom Hiscott.
Welcome, listeners, to episode 22 of the Toolstation Western League podcast with me, Ian Knockholds, and I am delighted to be joined on the line by Tom Hiscott, the editor of the Toolstation Western League Bulletin. Hello, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks. How about yourself?
Well, I'm very well. I had a lovely weekend celebrating my father's birthday.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, you mentioned, yeah.
I know, he was 80 not out, so he's doing very well.
Good
and I am very pleased to say that we did manage to take in a little bit of football. Now, it wasn't Toolstation Western League football we were watching. That may well change this week. We can probably go into that later in the podcast. But no, on Saturday morning, I was watching the North East Hants Youth League Under-11s Delphian Spring Division. What do you think of that?
Easier said than done, yeah.
Very much so.
Blimey.
Very much so indeed. Yeah, it was Hook United Tigers against Hart Youth Comets, and I was watching my cousin's son play. His name is Rudy Welton, and with a name like that, of course, one day, if he's very lucky, he'll go on to play for Welton Rovers.
He's got to.
Bringing it back to the Western League, but interestingly enough, at that level, it's non-competitive, so we don't keep a record of the results. But I can tell you that there was only one goal in the game, and Rudy scored it. Whatever that means. But anyway, I was happy. My dad was even happier. So a good time was had by all. Now, and talking about a good time being had by all, I know that obviously we have the benefit of your wisdom on the Western League every week. But your other great love in life is American football.
Oh, yes.
And it was quite an important weekend in the American football calendar, wasn't it?
Yeah, yesterday or Sunday evening, there was the championship games, which is, well, the equivalent of the semi-finals. So, yeah, we've now got our Super Bowl lineup set. It's Kansas City Chiefs, which is good offensive team, so they score a lot of points, sort of attractive to watch. Like I'm sure there's plenty of Western League sides that can probably claim to be the Chiefs of the Western League. And then we've got the San Francisco 49ers they'll be taking on, who run it quite a lot, and it was a very good defensive team, so it's been interesting clash of styles. But that's a couple of weeks away now, so countdown to the Super Bowl definitely on.
So it's quite literally a case of the irresistible force meets the immovable object.
That's definitely the major matchup, I think, going into the first weekend of February. That's what the build-up will be centered around. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it pans out.
And who's your money on? Who do you think is going to be successful? I know I've put you on the spot there, but there are literally thousands of people around the west of England who are hovering over their betting slips as we record this.
I think as of last evening, I think the Chiefs, Kansas City, were 1 point favourites going in the early betting lines. So it's a bit of a 50-50. I think I'd like to see the Chiefs do it. They're a bit younger and stuff like that, so I think I'll go for the Chiefs.
Chiefs, there you go. Please bet responsibly. Anyway, don't worry, listeners. We're not here to talk about American football because that would be ridiculous on the Toolstation Wrestling podcast. But we are here to talk about the matches that took place on Saturday, the 18th of January, my dad's birthday. And I'm really pleased to say, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the action, I'm really pleased to say that there were some really good gates across both the Premier Division and the First Division on Saturday. And we are going to start our coverage at Chipping Sodbury Town, where the visitors were Exmouth.
Yeah, and Exmouth continue to roll on. The 15th league win of the season. They are very much in touch with the top two in the Premier Division. Another win, as I say, and it was Jordan Harris. He's their leading goal scorer so far this season, and he put them ahead. Exmouth at the break. Pretty good goal from him by all accounts. Putting them into a 1-0 lead at the interval, and then and second half they pushed on and claiming the 3-0 win. Aaron Denny and Jimmy Hines adding goals after half-time. And it's Exmouth who claim the 3-0 win. As you say, a free figure 8 for Chipping Sodbury. So a good day for them, but not on the field, unfortunately. And it's Exmouth who take home the 3 points.
Well, Well, another three-figure gate at Hallen, where the visitors were Clevedon Town. And this, I mean, I don't know whether in the great psyche of Western League football this is a local derby. Of course, Hallen and Clevedon aren't separated by a million miles, it'd be fair to say. But it was a tight affair, Tom.
It really was, yeah. Obviously, two teams that were, separated by only a couple of points. Well, they were level on points, in fact, coming into this one, sorry. Level on 39 points coming into it, and it's Hallen who take home the 3 points to move up to fifth in the table. A 2-1 win over Clevedon, but it was a tight affair. And the game was preceded by a minute's silence in memory of Darren Butt and Dave Keynes. And I know we send our warmest regards to Hallen and everyone with that club at the moment. It's been a bit of a tough time, but on the field they're doing extremely well. And they made an excellent start to the game on Saturday. Aaron Anglin firing them into a second-minute lead. Clevedon did manage to fight back and gain a leveller just on the cusp of half-time through Zach Drew from the penalty spot. But Hallen hit back almost instantly. So a busy end to the first half, and it was Hallen going 2-1 ahead, Aaron Robbins, and that ended up being the winner. So it was Hallen who continue their winning run. I think that's 4 in a row for them now, a 2-1 win over Clevedon.
Now, our next game saw a total of 6 goals, so plenty for the 114 to watch here at Keynsham Town. And although it was a good win for Keynsham, Bridport still showing signs that they're fighting for their lives in the league. Yeah,
a little bit of a spark has seemed to come for Bridport at the moment. They're not doing too badly, and definitely starting to score a fair few goals. I think they're taking on some of the top sides at the moment, and but they are getting on that score sheet, and fingers crossed for them. They can start to pull away from the bottom sides. But they did fall to a 4-2 defeat at Keynsham on the weekend. Keynsham getting their first win of 2020 in the process. 2 goals from Matt Brown and Matt Long put them 2-0 up at the break. But then Bridport managed to fight back. They were level midway through the second half after Will Gape and then Lewis Clark managed to draw them level. But then it was Brown and Long both striking again in the final 10 minutes. So a pair of doubles for Brown and Long, the 2 Matts, eventually giving Keynsham a 4-2 win over Bridport.
Now, our final game in the Premier Division that we're reviewing on this week's podcast sees Street take on Shepton Mallet. Now, of course, we talked on last week's podcast about the fantastic result that Shepton Mallet had away at Bridgewater. Bridgewater, of course, who've got fantastically large crowds at home. Well, the biggest crowd of the weekend was at Street, where Shepton Mallet were once again the visitors, which would suggest that the travelling Shepton Mallet army is sizable, and they would have gone home very happy here, as they will have seen their side win comprehensively in Somerset. Absolutely,
they completely ran away of it in the second half. This one, a bit of a local derby, and another win for Shepton Mallet. 5-0 ended up in the end, and it was only 1-0 at the interval. It was Jack Fillingham. He won a penalty and then dusted himself down before converting. So that was 10 minutes before half-time to put the visitors ahead. So obviously Street still very much in the game at that stage. But Nathan Legg then put it beyond them pretty much. 2 goals in the space of 3 minutes to extend Mallet's lead to 3. And then, it was Aaron Sevier. And then another goal for Fillingham. If he's back amongst the goals and back in form, Shepton will be a tough out at the moment. So a 5-0 win for them away at Street.
quite a while since we heard from Shepton Mallet manager Craig Loxton, so I thought this was a great opportunity to get back in touch with him. 5 wins in the last 6 for the Somerset side. So I started off by talking to Craig about the fantastic form that his side have started their Premier Division campaign in 2020.
We've been on a great run, sort of around the Christmas period and carried on through the new year. You know, it's just good at the moment. We're scoring a lot of goals, keeping it tight at the back, and it's a good, confident camp we got at the moment.
You're up to 4th in the league. Are you confident you can keep that up?
I think so. Yeah. Obviously, we've got tough games to come. We've still got to play a few of the teams obviously ahead of us in the league, but as I just said, we're confident at the moment. We're sort of gelling well as a unit, and we've got a stronger squad as I think we've ever had at the club, and everyone's competing for their places really well. I think it's pushing each other on really well in the games, and hopefully we can sort of maintain this form for as long as we can.
If you are able to maintain the excellent form you're on, if you look at the quality and the strength of the sides above you, realistically thinking, do you think that they can be caught, or do you think that there is there are leagues within leagues? Are we looking at teams at the top of the Western Premier Division that are sort of a class above the rest?
Possibly. I look at obviously the teams that are above us, and they are. I think obviously Bradford and Plymouth have got a couple of games in hand on us. So if they win those, which you probably expect them to do with obviously the form and the way that they've been playing, it probably stretches the gap probably a little bit too far for us to probably catch up. But saying that, we all know what this league's like, and it's tough games every week. So, and we still got to play both of them. And I wouldn't rule out obviously Exmouth or Tavistock even, because obviously they've got a lot of games in hand, and they're the sort of teams that are going to be pushing obviously Bradford and Plymouth all the way. And like I say, we're in there, and we're trying to win every game as we can, and we'll just see where that takes us, really.
Now, we'll come to Tavistock in a minute, but when you think about your good form at the moment, and regardless of sort of where we are in the league at the turn of the year, it must give you great confidence that the project that you're undertaking at Shepton Mallet is going in the right direction. What do you think you can achieve, looking ahead for your club?
We spoke in the summer. Obviously, the whole team changed. We added John Durham into the management team. That was obviously progression for us then, because we needed to sort of tap into another area and sort of entice some players to come down to us, because it is a small area where we are, and it is difficult sometimes to attract players because we haven't got the big budgets, so we can't really offer the finances that other teams can. So, but we always had a plan of, look, we're sort of a consistent sort of middle top 10 team, and now we want to be consistently sort of top 8, top 6, and we've sort of been there sort of all season. We've had one blip really, and actually that came after I spoke to you on the podcast last time. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. We're just going on this momentum, you know what I mean? The lads now, they're all familiar with each other. Us as a management tree, we're familiar with them, and we know how we're working. And we probably learned from the start of the season and that little blip of probably what we were doing. We probably done a little things wrong with regard to sort of changing the team maybe too much and not sticking with players, when they're in and out of form. And like I said, we've kind of got the mix and the blend right at the moment, and we never know where it might take us. But obviously, moving forward, we want to cement that place as as a top 8, top 6 team, sort of year in, year out. Like that's what we're striving for, and we're doing that at the moment. People might say we're punching above our weight, which we probably are, but we are a good team, and I think people know that now. When they come up against us, they know that they're in for a game, and the results don't lie. At the end of the day, we're there because we want to be there, and we want to keep striving for more.
Now let's talk about Saturday. This is the second time this season that you've put 5 past Street, and that's no way to denigrate your Somerset neighbours, because, in fairness to them, they've surprised a fair few sides this season, haven't they? I mean, what are your thoughts on Saturday's game?
Yeah, we knew going into it it'd be a tough game. We've actually watched Street more than any team this season. Obviously, already played them twice, beaten them twice. But they're kind of similar to us, as in they had a whole new team sort of come in the summer. Obviously, they changed managers, and then obviously manager again sort of midway through this season. But they're a young, fit group with some really sort of talented players. They've got a few. I think they're probably lacking in experience, and we knew that. We know we're quite a physical team, and with some big lads, and we knew as we sort of got around them and got into them, and I think it would be our game, and that's sort of how it panned out really. And it was a pretty neat, tight, close first half, and then the second half, we played really well. We played some good football, and every time we went forward, we looked like scoring. I think we were too much for them in the end. But they're a good team. I think this season will stem them really well for next year, and as long as they keep that core together, it will be difficult because I can imagine there's going to be a few clubs now looking at their better players, thinking, "Can I have them?" And that's just sort of the nature of the game at the moment. We're all we're all in that same position when you've got clubs wanting your better players. But they are a good team. But we're just sort of happy to sort of have local bragging rights at the moment.
Now you've got Roman Glass on Saturday, then it's Keynsham. Both sides are below you in the league, but neither of those games will be easy, will they?
No, they won't. No, we got beat by Roman Glass earlier on the season up there on the 4G, and it was a tough game. They've got some good players. They've got some experienced players at this level, and even above, they've got some strikers that score a lot of goals. And we know now that every game's going to be a tough game. We've probably put ourselves in a position where teams are see us as a decent team in the league and probably look to raise their games. But we've got to be able to deal with that now, and that pressure that we put on ourselves to consistently perform week in, week out. And it's the same with Keynsham. They came up last year, and I think they've done okay really. For a new team in the league, obviously they've got that 4G surface as well, so we've got to then go there and play on that. But at the moment, we're going into games confident, and I'm sure that we can get some positive results there.
Well, so after those games against Roman Glass and Keynsham, on February the 1st, you've got Tavistock. And of course, as you know from our previous conversations on the podcast, Craig, I do love talking to you about Tavistock. In fact, by the time you play them in the league on February the 1st, your games against Tavistock will account for 15% of all of the games that you've played this season. So, all joking aside, they are one of the sides that are competing with you at the top of the Premier Division table. Familiarity breeds contempt. How important is it for you to finally get a good result against that side this season?
Yeah, it is important to us. We've spoken to about it already, obviously, at our club, and the results that we've had against them, especially the last one. I think we lost 4-0 at home, and we were sort of in that bad period that I spoke about earlier. But I think we're a different team now to what we were back then. We're a lot more solid, and obviously a free flow and scoring a lot of goals, and there's a lot more confidence throughout the team. We're going down there confident. Obviously, we've got a few games before that. Obviously, we've got to take care of first, but it's going to be a good game. I think they like playing against us as well, because obviously they've done well, and they seem to score a few goals against us as well. But we want to kind of get that off our backs, the fact that we haven't done well against them obviously the last few games, and obviously sort of see the back of them really till next season.
Now, a lot of the games in the Western League, of course, have been affected by the weather, as they always are. But you aren't one of the clubs that have been affected more than others. So when you look at your groundsman, what magic does he weave, or is it just a little bit of luck?
No, I don't think it's luck, to be honest. I think obviously Rodney, who's the chairman, he's out there normally every day, most days. He loves it. It's his pride and joy. And to be fair, we've probably got one of the best pitches in the league. Obviously, you can tell that obviously by the amount of cancellations that we don't have really. And it's it probably needs to be said, we have got a reserve team as well that play on that when we are away on some Saturdays as well. So for him to sort of get the pitch ready, obviously for them, and then for us probably in the week sort of after that, is any detriment to how well he does. But it's been like that for since ever I've been at the club, really. They do take good care of it, and there's a few of them behind the scenes that all go out there and muck in, and it's one of the best pitches in the league. We love playing at home, and I think a lot of teams like coming to us as well, because it is a great pitch and a great club to play.
Well, you like playing at home, you like playing away. You've had a couple of fantastic results in the last couple of weeks. We've talked about them on the podcast. Obviously, you were away at Street and won. You were away at Bridgewater and won. One of the common factors with both of those matches were that they were huge crowds in the Western League, and the fact that you were one of the sides playing, I think, didn't go unnoticed. So there's that's a huge compliment, not only to the amount of support that there is for Shepton Mallet, but also the amount of travelling support that you enjoy when you go away from home.
Yeah, that's right. I think this season we've we've got the attendances up a little bit, obviously, at home, and we've always had a sort of decent following. You know, we've got a lot of loyal fans, and you know, they support the club well, and I think sort of maybe people have started to take notice of us a little bit more, which is a good thing, because it means we're sort of doing something right on the pitch, and people in the area are getting behind us. And you know, I say to our lads, it's the games, you know, those games, you want to be involved in games with those big crowds, and obviously strive for more. You know, and this is, you know, it creates a good atmosphere. At Bridgewater last week, it was probably one of our best wins of the season, because you know, I think there was over 300 there, and we were 1-0 down at half time, came back to win 2-1, and you could tell at the end how much it meant, not only to us but to the supporters and the committee that all went down travelling. You know, because it was a great win. It was a great win for us, and we obviously followed that up with a lot of fans going down the street on Saturday. So yeah, it's sort of good times at the moment.
If you're thinking, Toolstation, I know they'll save me money, but do they have all the top brands? You know, DeWalt, Makita, Einhell, Stanley, Myra, Kudox, Nest and Santex. Yeah, they do. Over 15,000 trade quality products in the range from the leading brands with prices that are hard to beat. If you want a helping hand to save on your next job, try Toolstation. With over 300 branches, there's always a Toolstation near you.
Now, moving on to the First Division, and our first featured game is Calne Town. They were at home to Portishead, and another three-figure attendance, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. 105 there at Bremhill-View to see Calne claim 3 points. 2-1 win over Portishead, so an important win for them, obviously, in second place at the moment. And it was a fast start for the home side in this one. They were 2-0. 2-0 up after about 15 minutes. It was Joe Broadbank putting them ahead. And then, 8 minutes later, Aaron Witchell crossing. And that was headed home by Stuart Windsor, who's obviously having another good season in front of goal. So Calne 2-0 up. Portishead did manage to, get back into the game. Mitch Osmond pulling a goal back for them midway through the second half. The captain producing an acrobatic finish. But unfortunately, they fell to another defeat, so I think that's 5 on the bounce for them now. But Calne very much remaining in the winners' circle, a 2-1 win over Portishead for them.
Our next featured game in the First Division involves Lebec United against Wells City. Now, no game in the Western League on Saturday featured more goals, but equally, given everything that we've said about the great attendances we had on Saturday, no match had fewer fans, which is disappointing. But anybody who was at this game, particularly if you're a Wales fan, would have gone home very happy, Tom.
Yeah, I think we can definitely term this game as dramatic. There's plenty going on. Wales eventually running out 7-1 winners, but there was an awful lot of late goals to prop up the score, shall we say. It was pretty tight during the first half, but shot to life in about the 30, just after the half hour. Tom Hill stroking home a penalty to put Wales in front, and then Lebec pretty much fell apart a little bit, reduced to 10 men soon after, with Wales then adding a second for Alex Cam. Lebec's keeper was then dismissed after handling the ball just outside the area. This was all in the build-up to half-time, but then incredibly they managed to, the 9 men managed to go down the other end and score to reduce the deficit. So they only trailed 2-1 at the break, despite being down to 9. But then obviously Wales, capitalised on another red card. So Lebec down to 8 midway through the second half. And from there I don't think Wales looked back. 20 minutes, the final 20 minutes that was. A bit of a procession. Alex Cam completing his hat-trick. He scored twice in the final few minutes. And he also provided a couple of assists for Charlie Crook and Craig Herod as well. So, fantastic afternoon for Alex Cam. I think he's probably the star of the show for Wales. And, claiming a 7-1 win over Lebec.
Regular listeners, of course, will remember Nathan Truckle, who we've spoken to on the podcast many times, the Wells City joint manager. Well, he's one half of the double act, but this week we get to speak to the other half. It is Tom Clifford Jones. And I started off by talking to Tom about the performance against Lebec on Saturday and asked him, in his perspective, was the scoreline representative of how the game actually turned out?
It was a good performance in the end. Very professional in quite strange circumstances, really. We started well. Lebec were a really good side. And if it wasn't for our young keeper, he made 3 excellent saves early in the first half. It probably could have been quite a different story. And he actually got the Man of Match award. So it probably doesn't suggest quite a close game it was. Obviously, Lebec had a few players sent off, which sort of changed the game. We were very ruthless, to be fair. We sort of probably had about 10 chances and scored sort of 7 of them. So that was very pleasing. But it was just a really good away performance, which is the main thing.
It's been a funny start to the year for you. You had an excellent win against Sherborne, but you could only manage a draw against Portishead.
We have drawn probably more than we wanted to be honest. It's been a little bit disappointing. I think it's 10 unbeaten in the league now, which is very pleasing. But at the same time, like you said, we've dropped a few points with some silly draws. But like we said to the lads, that I heard a lot of managers say the same thing on the podcast. There is no easy games in the Western League. So if we have a bad sort of half an hour, 20 minutes, we can get punished for it. And again, Portishead, they're a good side, and we sort of sat back. They went down to 10 men. We sat back and just invited them on. They're going to score. It was our own downfall, really, and it is disappointing. But we didn't lose, which is the main thing. So the run carries on.
Well, yeah, it's not all doom and gloom. I mean, that unbeaten run that you mentioned, that stretches back until October. And, of course, you are currently up to third in the league. So things aren't going that bad for you, are they?
No, it's very pleasing. Me and Nath, we said that we wanted to... Sort of the first target at the beginning of the season was improve on our 10th position from last season. And then the next target was sort of get to sort of Christmas and New Year and see where we are. And if we're in the mix, then brilliant, and we'll go again. So yeah, no, very pleasing that we're sort of in the mix at sort of Christmas, New Year time. But now we've got a sort of difficult little run. The next 3 games are very difficult. So we've sort of got Longwell tomorrow night, Cairn on Saturday, and then Warminster away the following Saturday. So yeah, it's a big couple of weeks for the lads, really.
Yeah, we'll come to those games coming up in a minute. But at the moment, you are in a promotion place. So is that something that had entered, your mind, Nathan's mind, the other joint manager, of course? Is the club, do you think, set up for promotion to the Premier Division?
It is, yeah. No, like I said, in the summer we brought sort of 12 new signings in, and the quality we sort of brought in, we sort of said between ourselves, we thought we had a good chance of sort of being in the top 4. We wanted to give it time. Obviously, with all those new signings, it will take a little bit of time to gel. So yeah, no, we are up there. Obviously, the league's so tight. There could be probably we're one of probably about 8 teams that probably got a chance of being in that top 4. So it is going to be hard, and it comes down to consistency. I know it sounds obvious. Last season we were nowhere near consistent enough with team selections, etc. So this year, which is good, and me and Nate, one of the main reasons we sort of wanted to bring new players in is that we had a consistent side every week. We weren't having to make sort of 4 or 5 changes. It makes a big difference, really. And this season, the lads have sort of been excellent, commitments bang on, and it has made a really big difference.
Now, without wishing to make this sound like one of the 1,000,001 interviews you're currently hearing with Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool, you've obviously got a long way to go before the end of the season and whether or not you secure promotion. I do understand that. But if you allow yourself to take a look at what the Premier Division this season looks like, let alone what it could look like next season with more teams from Devon and potentially Cornwall coming in, how does that challenge sit with you? I mean, what do you make of the gap? If there is one, maybe you don't feel that there is between the first and second, between the Premier and the First Division of the Western League.
Yeah, there is. I think there is work to be done, obviously, to that gap. I think, to be fair, in the First Division, I think there probably is the top 6 to 8 teams. I think they probably would be able to go up into the Premier Division and sort of hold their own. But it is a very difficult league, that Premier Division. Obviously, there is so many week in, week out. You're playing difficult, hard games. and it can take its toll, is a lot different. So I think we are, a lot of the lads we did sign in the summer have come down from the Premier Division or the Southern League. So I think we are probably well equipped. So I do think we could make the adjustment, but I'm not getting too carried away. We've still got another half of the season to actually earn the right to play in that Premier Division first. So that's the key focus really. We're not looking too far ahead.
Well, you mentioned just a moment ago the games that are coming up immediately for you. You've got Longwell Green and then Cairn, and you mentioned how difficult those opponents are going to be. Of course, they're currently first and second in the division, so whichever way you look at it, whether you're competing for promotion or competing for the title, getting a positive result against those sides is going to be key. The most important thing, perhaps, though, is that you've got both of those games at home. So do you think that makes it even more important that you're able to get some sort of advantage over them when you get that chance to play them on home soil?
It is important to win your home games, definitely. We've got to be honest, we probably play better away from home than we have at home this season. Although our home record's not too bad, we seem to play better, and we scored a lot more goals away from home. So I don't think it's going to make a massive difference to us performance-wise. But like you said, you do need to sort of win your home games. We haven't played Longwell away yet either, so we've got to play them home and away. We hope to use the advantage of the home advantage, but I'm not sure if it will have much of a bearing on things or not, to be honest.
Well, one factor that I think is going to have a bearing come the final analysis is the amount of postponed matches that clubs have got to catch up with. Now, at the moment, I don't think your postponements, you haven't had too many of them to cope with, or too many to fit in to have to rearrange. So, as well as taking our hats off to your groundsman, is there a secret to the good form at the athletic ground, or is it just is it just down to luck in the end of the day?
No, like you said, it is a massive credit to our two groundsmen, Pete Deverell and Neil Shepherd, who probably not long ago, I think if you go back just before Christmas, we were 2 or 3 games behind a lot of the teams, and now where just before Christmas around, where a lot of postponements we were having, we managed to get a couple of games on where a lot of teams had them off. I think it made a massive difference, to be honest. If we had them off and we continued to fall behind, I think it would have been a massive sort of challenge, a lot harder for us anyway. So yeah, it's a massive credit to our groundsmen that we managed to get it on. And then there's a little bit of luck on Saturday where a lot of teams, well, I think there's 3 or 4 off, wasn't there? And we were away to Lebec, so we were playing on the 3G surface. So it was a little bit of a blessing that we were away to Lebec this weekend, where quite easily we could have had a game called off, which has kept us in touch with sort of the leading pack, really.
Now, this is the first time, Tom, we've spoken on the podcast, and it's great to have you on. But can you tell the listeners a little bit about your footballing journey to the Wells dugout?
Mainly, I spent a lot of my time at Street, playing for Street in the Western League. I played there for about 10 years. And then I just decided to sort of play a bit more locally with my mates for a couple of seasons. And then the opportunity come about to go into management with Nath. Mates with Nath, I played football with Nath. So yeah, no, I jumped at the chance. That was the beginning of last season. So I had the first season last season. Enjoyed it. Stressful, but enjoyed it. And then this is the second season. So yeah, fingers crossed. It's not going too bad, and hopefully it continues.
And my thanks to Tom for his time. And our final game in the First Division featured, well, it was the joint highest attendance in the First Division. That gives you a clue to who we're going to feature. Of course, it had to be one of the best supported sides in the Western League, Warminster Town. They were at home to high-flying Longwell Green Sports, and frustratingly for the Warminster side, the Maltmans' sketchy league form continues. Tom.
Yeah, unfortunately for them, a 3-0 defeat. Longwell Green, obviously, top of the league, and the pressure was on them this week. Obviously, last week, I think I mentioned how I think it was only one of the top half had managed to to win. But this week there was only 5 matches that actually beat the weather, but all 5 of those went in favour of teams in the top couple of positions. So the top teams pulling away a little bit from the mid-table cluster, and so as I say, important for Longwell Green to be among those to bag 3 points, and they did just that. Goals from Liam Oswin, Connor Britton and Danny Carter. He's having a really good season. Fired them to a 3-0 win over Warminster, and they did actually have a red card during the game as well. So Longwell Green doing well to get that victory with 10 men.
That concludes our look at the football on Saturday the 18th of January. We will now, of course, have a look at the week ahead. Some fantastic fixtures on particularly Wednesday the 22nd of January, when of course the chances are you won't be listening to this podcast. If you are and you get the chance, I'm sure Bradford Town against Plymouth Parkway, the irresistible force against the immovable object, takes place. Now, of course, earlier in the podcast we did talk about what that meant in terms of American football, but for this we've got the meanest defence in the Western League, Bradford Town taking on the highest goal scorers, Plymouth Parkway. That game kicking off at Trowbridge Road at 7:30, and I very much hope to be there myself to take that one on. We won't labour that point too much more. We will, however, look ahead to the fixtures on Saturday the 25th of January. And looking in the Premier Division, Tom, which fixture catches your eye here?
I'm not sure if it catches my eye as much, but it's an important one. Bridport, we mentioned earlier, maybe a little spark, but they've got a really important home game against Odddown, who obviously are without much going on for them at the moment, losing pretty much every week. So they have got a vital game, a huge game at the bottom. Still only 3 points separating these two sides. So Bridport in 19th, Odddown bottom of the pile in 21st, with Wellington sat in between them. So I mean, if Odddown can find something and gain an away win, that could give them the all-important boost they need for the second half of their season. Only 3 wins for them so far. So a big game for them away at Bridport.
I think there's some massive games going on across the Western League on Saturday in the Premier Division. As always, it's very easy to look at sort of hometown advantage. There are some really fascinating encounters. I think Keynsham and Hallam will be a really competitive game, and it will be also interesting to see whether Westbury can take anything away at Bitton. A Bitton side, of course, who've been pretty erratic in the league. But what about Exmouth Town against Bridgewater Town? Exmouth, of course, going very, very well in the league. We know how strong they are. But Bridgewater, on their day, forget the attendances that they get, very, very competitive side. I think that's going to be a cracking game, and will tell us a lot, perhaps, about both sides. Even if it's not just for this season, it will be about how competitive they're likely to be for next. So Exmouth Town against Bridgewater Town is my pick. Moving on to the First Division, Tom, what's tickled your fancy there?
Yeah, so plumping for 2 teams at the bottom in the Premier Division, but in the first, definitely the opposite. We've got Wells City versus Calne, so that's obviously third versus second. Wells, high-scoring victory, as we just discussed on Saturday. So they're definitely keeping in touch with the top 2. And Calne, another win for them as well, but a extremely tough away trip for them on Saturday afternoon, which will tell us a lot about both teams' credentials. In terms of promotion push, which is definitely got to be on the cards for both at the moment.
Well, you've gone for 2 of the front runners.
Oh, yes.
I'm gonna go for the chasing pack, because historically that's where the value, if you like, has been, isn't it, in the First Division? It's those sides that come from nowhere, and neither of these sides are necessarily coming from nowhere, but 2 sides. Radstock Town away at Corsham Town. Radstock desperately need to play some football matches, because although points per game, they're doing fantastically well this season, they just have not been playing games. They need to be playing games to maintain that lofty league position. Corsham Town, form has been in and out, but they're still there or thereabouts. We're past the turn, we're at that midpoint in the season. If they can finish the final straight, they've got Radstock at home. This could be a really important 3 points for either side. So that's where I think the value is going to be in the First Division on Saturday. As we always do, last week, of course, we did review the goal scorers, but we're going to have a quick look at the league tables, Tom, and who's flying high in the Premier Division.
In the Premier Division, so quite a lot of movement recently, but Bradford and Plymouth seem to be switching spots almost weekly, but it's Bradford who's at top at the moment. 19 games they've played, 49 points. And then you've got Plymouth Parkway, who've played one less, so that explains that. They've got 18 games played. Obviously didn't have a league fixture on the weekend. They've got 46 points, so they're 3 back from Bradford. Exmouth also with exactly the same record as Parkway. They've played 18, won 15 of those, and they are on 46 points. So the top 3 all going absolute great guns. And then you've got a couple of teams played a few more games. Shepton and Hallam both played 21 fixtures, so a couple more than the top 3, and they're both on 42 points. And then you've got Tavistock in 6th. They have played 18, so similar to the top couple of sides, and they're on 41 points. So that's how the top's looking in the Premier Division at the moment.
I think I have a correction to make on some of my previously flamboyant hyperbole. When I was describing Bradford against Parkway as the meanest defence against the best attack, in fairness to Exmouth Town, they've only conceded 14 goals, so they would be the meanest defence. Bradford are second with 18. So I correct myself there and give credit where it's due to the Exmouth men. Looking down at the bottom of the table, then in 21st position, odd down. They've recently changed their manager, Nick Bieberstock, coming in there. That'll be very interesting to see whether he can weave his magic and move odd down away from the bottom of the table. They've played 22 matches. They've got 10 points. Also played 22 is Wellington, just at 1 point above odd down, and then Bridport, they've played 23 and on 13 points, and then Chipping Sodbury, I think looking up not down, they've played 23 and they are on 16 points, so 6 off the bottom. Moving on to the First Division, and who's leading the way?
We've got Longwell Green. They've played 20. They've won 13 of those, so they're on 42 points. Obviously, it's still extremely tight at the top. So you've got Carn in second, who've played 19, so 1 less than Longwell Green. They're a point back on 41. And then you've got Wales City, 19 games played. They're on 38 points, as are Sherborne, who are going great guns at the moment. They've played 20 matches. They're on 38, as I say. And then you've got Ashton and Backwell, also played 20. Lost only 4 games this season, which is among the best. They're on 36 points. And then a couple of sides you've just mentioned in the preview, sitting 6th and 7th. You've got Bradstock, who've only played 16. So plenty of games in hand, but they will want to get those in at some point in the not too distant future. So they'll have a big backlog, but they're on 34 points. So if they win a few of those, they're going to be rising the ladder. And then you've also got Caution, 21 games played. They're on 33 points. So that's how the top 7 are doing in the First Division.
Bristol Telephone's still propping the league up. They've played 19. They've got 8 points. 4 points ahead of them, Bishop Sutton. They've only played 18 games. They're on 12 points. And then Devizes Town, 19 played on 15 points. A 4-point gap between them and Portishead and Almondsbury, who's sitting on 19 points. So that's how the bottom of the First Division looks. Tom, thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.
As always. We have, of course, been reviewing your excellent bulletin. Where can the listeners find that?
So that is on the Toolstation Western League website. There's a tab along the top that takes you to the most recent bulletin, and you can download it as a PDF and Word format. It's also on the homepage about halfway down.
Excellent stuff, Tom. Thank you very much for your time and all your
Pleasure.
hard work as always. And you'll be listening to Tom and myself on next week's Toolstation